the behavior. Which would you prefer to test? Just the 4 methods, or would you prefer to test all of this stuff? Now, one question I like to ask people is, how many of you, when you do TDD, how many do TDD in the first place? How many write unit tests? Ah, there we go. Now, when you write your unit test, how many of you test that what you expect to have happen, happened? I do. I said I want to change the address. I assert that the address was actually changed. Now, how many of you assert that nothing else happened? Imagine doing that across this interface. This is known as a combinatorial problem, which is why we do not write these tests. So if I do this, and then I've got my one assert that says that this one was true, now I have to write n unit tests to make sure that nothing else has changed inside of this thing. That none of my other behaviors are actually different afterwards. It's an expensive proposition, so we just don't write them. That was actually the test trying to tell us that our code was screwed. But we ignored it and continued on. The last thing I want to talk about briefly is the concept of mapping between contexts and doing it asynchronously. How many of you guys have an infrastructure service talking to some other context in your domain model? And it probably does a call out in a synchronous way. There's a big problem with this. What happens if that other context is down? Instead, what we do is we tend to invert the relationship. The same events that we were sending back here, we will send these events to the other side and let him build his own model of what that means to him. It's not a difficult concept.